This meeting is being recorded.
Hello again, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us to be part of this special meeting today, which, as you well know, is about the use of TikTok in Holocaust education and Holocaust memory and remembrance. We have a number of invited speakers today. And a number of memorials and museums from Germany and Italy who are going to share their experiences with TikTok, recent or less recent experiences with TikTok. And we are going to have time for questions, discussion, feedback, any kind of remarks or comments that you would like to share. First of all, just a few words about this event. This webinar is part of the dissemination plan of the project Countering Holocaust Distortion on Social Media, promoting the positive use of internet social technologies for teaching and learning about the Holocaust. This is a two-year project which was funded by the IRA, under the IRA grant strategy line 2, countering distortion. And we are about to finish the project activities because the end of the project is the end of August. In this project, we focused on social media as a positive technology to counter Holocaust distortion, which means that we didn't focus on how the social media can help spread misinformation, anti-Semitism, fake news, or any kind of Holocaust denial or distortion, but the other way around. The working hypothesis was to investigate how social media may contribute to expand Holocaust knowledge and raise awareness about the many forms of Holocaust distortion, especially among the younger generations. So, aim of the project was to identify potential and limitations of social media use for historical knowledge and memory of the Holocaust. Output of the project are some guidelines and recommendations addressed to museum curators and social media managers of Holocaust museums and memorials about how to recognize and how to deal with the many forms of Holocaust distortions that people may encounter on social media. Context of this research project was 10 Holocaust museums and memorials located in 2 countries, the 2 countries that were part of the project, Italy and Germany. In the project website, you can find and download freely, of course, the 2 main documents of the project, some guidelines and recommendations for memorials and museums about how to address Holocaust distortion on social media, which for now are available in English and in Italian, and a German edition will be ready soon, and a white paper which summarizes the main results of the project, the main research activities that were done in terms of the many tools, mixed method tools that we used during the several phases of the investigation. So I recommend that you go to the website and look at also the other results if you're interested in, of course. But today, we are going to focus specifically on one social media platform, which is gaining very much attention in the Holocaust memory and the Holocaust education community, which is TikTok. Why did we decide to focus on TikTok today? Well, for a number of reasons. First of all, because if one of our goals is to reach especially younger generations, It's undoubtedly that TikTok has become the platform of choice for children and young adults. At the same time, a growing number of Holocaust organizations, museums, and memorials have started to use TikTok with a clear intention of reaching this target group. And one of the positive sides of the COVID-19 pandemic was that the pandemic has accelerated the use of Holocaust memorials to experiment and engage with the use of social media, and specifically with TikTok. The explosion in the use of TikTok and more general in the use of social media has been done in coincidence with the pandemic and the restrictive measure caused by the various lockdowns. So this is why we have decided to dedicate one of these online seminars to this topic. And I wouldn't add anything more, because I'm sure that our guest speakers and our invited speakers will have plenty of things to share about this topic. So if you all agree, I give the floor to Tobias and Tom for their lecture or presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Stefania. It's great to be here and share our some results from our research, ongoing research on doing memory on TikTok, and also to discuss this with so many colleagues, some of them also being part of the projects we present here. Yeah, so I'm a senior lecturer at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in visual culture, communication, and film studies. And I'm doing this together with my co-researcher, Tom Divon, who is a PhD researcher at the Hebrew University.
Hi, yeah, great. Thank you. Good to be here. So we're going to start discussing this mesmerizing world of TikTok. And I do encourage you to feel free to ask or comment. And if something intrigues you, you can just interrupt us and speak. It's really okay. We're here for a discussion. So please feel free. Yeah, as Stefania already started to say, we have increasing curiosity about TikTok. And TikTok is a very popular platform. So we think and we see that this is mainly because of the platform's unique infrastructure described as a virtual playground. What actually started as a platform that offers users to post videos of themselves while lip-sync songs grew very fast into this creative canvas of self-made short looping videos, presenting dance routines, science, comedy, fantasy, visual memes, and really you name it. And the result turns this virtual playground into a generational habitat for Gen Zs, which highly corresponding with their dominant characteristics. So being recognized as the first true online generation that mediates life through a screen, Gen Z have a strong tendency for expressiveness, desire to create, high level of social awareness, and all of those are tied in their short span attention. So TikTok's designers match the app infrastructure to those habits, encouraging TikTokers to incorporate music samples, split screens, filters, quick cuts, speed controls, stickers, GIFs, virtual effects, stitches, duets, live stream, and really endless of features, which helps them to be the most creative you can be, according to TikTok's vision. So a little bit about the infrastructure and those important pages on TikTok. All of those creations that the TikTok users are making are draining into TikTok's favorite spot, which known to be the For You page, which is the landing page showing personalized users' preferences to which users strive to be exposed. So you can see on the left the For You page, which in order to get the golden ticket for virality, TikTokers are scrolling through the Discover, which is the second page that you see on the right, which encourage them to actively seek out, participate, and engage with momentary viral content in order to remain visible to others. So creators can embed themselves on the For You with the help of digital connectors, such as conceptual hashtag, searchable keywords, creative filters, popular audio memes, and narrative memes, which are popular as part of a current trend. So you can see here that what users are doing are searching in the Discover for all kinds of trending videos and challenges to co-op, to join with their own version, and then using all kinds of digital connectors, as we said, like hashtags and filters, in order to signal to the algorithm, I'm doing a challenge, I'm using what you're offering to me, and I want to get to the For You page, which is, again, this landing page that shows all viral videos and gets and allow videos this wide exposure.
So the question is that was already raised: why became TikTok so attractive, especially for young users, for that generation which we see as the kind of the digitally born generation of the Gen Z? How could this platform so rapidly change from a primarily entertaining environment to this kind of interest-sharing platform that offers a variety of content that is closely attached to the lives and the realities of primarily young people and a growing audience. And we identified two kind of elements that are closely related to the TikTok vernacular that that created this attraction and this possibility of using TikTok as a forum to negotiate, so to say, our kind of the challenges of our present, and thereby, of course, also our relation to the past. One is this close connection to the imagination and emotions, especially, as Tom already said, because the platform is built on the idea of performance, self-performance, but also kind of performances that kind of demonstrate issues to the others and make them engageable. And of course, emotions. Music plays an important role on TikTok, as we already heard, and music is a very, very important vehicle for sending emotions. And this combination of imagination and emotions made TikTok a place to kind of to perform topics, and not only in an entertaining, but more and more also in a serious way. And this connects to the other aspect, compassion and empathy, that we learned that especially this kind of focus on the point of view, the point of view of the TikTok users that present themselves to the camera, emphasizes this possibility not only to talk about oneself, but also to offer an insight into the lives of others and thereby create this moment of empathy. When we see the topics many young TikTokers were dealing with in the last years, especially also confronted with the pandemic, we see that especially this point of view aesthetic, this POV and related challenges, became an interesting way of dealing with trauma and traumatic experiences of different forms of violence, harassment, trauma, violence, terrorism, and that definitely the Holocaust is not the only topic related to memory and trauma that TikTokers deal with. The most controversial event that sparked a lot of attention, and also the need to somehow confront with how to communicate the memory of the Holocaust on a platform like TikTok, was the so-called #POV Holocaust Challenge in summer 2020, when TikTokers were performing fictional or fictionalized biographies of Holocaust victims based on kind of certain a certain kind of mixture of fact and imagination that address, so to say, their audiences through the POV page to confront with these particular stories that we're trying to create a moment of authenticity through performance, through makeup, through certain symbols that were used and attached to the videos. An aspect that also created a lot of irritation among institutions who found that a kind of a form of more of disgusting way of dealing with the Holocaust, a kind of over-identification and trivialization, while overlooking the specific communicative aspect of using TikTok as a form of addressing and reaching out and confronting the viewers with these particular kind of stories. So one effect of that, we can already go to the next slide, was the question, how can we in more serious ways deal with the history and memory of the Holocaust on TikTok, and how is it also possible that we create forms, that we get to forms of best practice examples that could also then encourage, but also kind of change the way how user-generated content deals with the topic. And at the same time, we also saw, again, fueled by the pandemic, that the platform was slightly changing, that more and more political topics became viral on TikTok, that young users were using this platform to report from their experiences with social and political struggles, and that also TikTok at a certain moment, especially in 2021, started to kind of reframe itself as a form of interest-based platform, which could also include forms of educating, explanation, and dealing with kind of the challenges of our presence, political conflicts, racism, the war in Ukraine, and others. So this is when Tom, am I still on, or are you already?
You, yeah.
Okay. This is when we started to think about what could this be, this kind of serious TikTok, and a kind of preliminary definition would be that users communicate socio-political affairs in engaging ways through digital storytelling, while harnessing the platform's features, aesthetics, and dialects, allowing them to playfully unpack complex topics, contextualize, and provide information. Especially how can the language and the dialect of TikTok be adopted in order to deal with these kind of serious political, historical topics, and also use it as a form of reflecting among a generation about the social reality of Holocaust memory. And for that, this video, which was made for the occasion of Holocaust Remembrance Day, might be a good example.
So today is Holocaust Remembrance Day, and I noticed that thousands of people have been sharing the same image, which is this one, which is great, but doesn't include a lot of detail about our history. So I decided to post a little questionnaire on my story to see how much my followers know about the Holocaust. The first question I asked is, how long ago was the Holocaust? And feel free to take a minute and think about the answer. This is about 10 hours later, and while the majority of the answers are correct, or near correct, there's still about 66 people who answered that the Holocaust was over a century ago. There are survivors that share their experiences on TikTok that you should absolutely follow, especially if you answer this wrong. We may only have a couple more decades to listen to the stories of these survivors and their accounts, and we have to take advantage of that. My next question was, how many Jews were murdered during the Holocaust? Let's take a look at the answers for this one. So again, majority did answer correctly, but about 45 people answered that the number is in the 6 figures. And to give the benefit of the doubt, I'm sure that some people kind of assumed that 600,000 was 6 million before they continued reading, but this is still pretty alarming. And that number is so massive and impersonal that for some it's impossible to comprehend, and so they have trouble connecting to the horrors that happened during this time. The survivors of this tragedy lost parents, siblings, aunts, and uncles. The majority of them were alone after the war and had to learn how to cope with life and rebuild again. At the time, this was about 1/3 of the Jewish population, and to this day, we have not recovered in numbers. So I think I'm going to end this here. I did ask a couple more questions and I'll post the results on my story. I'd like to encourage anybody who lasted this long into the video to please follow the creators that I posted here, the Holocaust survivors, and take this opportunity to learn a little bit more in memory of those that we lost, and so that something like this will never ever happen again.
So this is a good example for user-generated content commemorating the Holocaust, dealing especially also with its challenges to the present. So how can we commemorate that, and how is it actually commemorated? And we saw that, especially then in reaction to the controversial POV Holocaust challenge, a number of different modes were kind of developed, that some of them more specific and some of them less specific to Holocaust memory, were adopted together with the specific language and aesthetics and features of TikTok to deal with this topic on the platform. And we will now briefly navigate through these types.
Yes, so before starting with the commemorative mode, if anyone wants to ask something until now, feel free. If something wasn't clear, then of course. Yeah, so the commemorative mode was the first mode that we noticed that was used by many TikTokers. The commemorative mode is primarily characterized by creators' interest in raising awarenesses of the Holocaust and its present implication as an historical event. So we see here creators using this mode often in the context of Memorial Days. They are integrating their videos into the vernaculars of TikTok's trends or challenges. Let's see some examples. So as an example of a commemorative video in the context of Memorial Days, we see here, oh, wait, sorry. This is the first one. So we see here an initiative by the Jewish community from Gen Z for Change, sorry, on the occasion of International Holocaust Remembrance Day in January 2021. And for this video, several young creators contributed short pieces where they recite parts of a joint statement that resulted in this message. Right, sorry.
Today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and the Jewish community from Gen Z for Change just wanted to take a moment to honor this important day.
It's been 76 years since Hitler's army of Nazis invaded Europe and slaughtered more than 6 million Jews.
Today, the most dangerous threat to our generation and millennials is the lack of knowledge on this tragedy.
Per an NBC News article, 10% of young people surveyed deny that the Holocaust even occurred.
Along with this lack of Holocaust awareness comes anti-Semitism.
As of 2020, over 50% of surveyed Jews have reported experiencing anti-Semitism.
In the United States, Jewish people make up 2% of the population, but constituted 62% of all religiously based hate crimes in 2018.
There are tons of ways you could support the Jewish community on this bittersweet day, including lighting a candle for some of the victims.
May we never forget the lives lost, and may we honor those that survived.
So another example for a commemorative mode is part of the 1-minute silence duet with the Holocaust survivor and TikTok star, Gidon Lev. Gidon's video standing at the siren that marks the beginning of commemoration event throughout Israel was duetted in a collaborative duet in which many users filmed themselves virtually standing with Gidon, creating a viral loop of 1-minute silence videos that traced back to Gidon's original video. This collaboration was born in a special workshop that we conducted in the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, in which students are learning to create TikTok videos on serious topics. Let's see the 1-minute silence duet. So this style of videos actually demonstrates TikTok contribution to collaboration, where users can co-produce commemorative videos while addressing other users and emphasizing the necessity of dealing with the legacy of the Holocaust. And now I want to show you another example of a commemorative video, which shows the creators and how they follow TikTok's vernaculars of performativity while harnessing features of sound and image that afford artistic acts of commemoration. An interesting example is this one, I Remember When challenge. When creators adopt the first line of the song Crazy and play it in a distorted loop that emphasizes the part I remember. In this video, the creator uses several photographs and objects related to the experience of the Holocaust, as well as references to traditional and current forms of anti-Semitism that result in this statement. Let's see it.
I remember when, I remember
And this challenge actually migrated to other cultural groups trying to commemorate other events like this one.
I remember when,
So this video meme demonstrates the creative use and appropriation of historical sources and screenshots of contemporary news items, and shows that commemoration on TikTok, and specifically by Gen Z users, is often not past, but rather present and future oriented.
Hi, everyone.
The second mode is the responsive mode. TikTokers' tendency to make the history of the Holocaust relevant to the present moves beyond commemorative narratives when creators use the Holocaust as a meta-reference to the continuity of hate, discrimination, anti-Semitism, racism, and problematic comparison between past and present that circulate on TikTok. So these videos are leading subjects of you see here subjects of videos that adopting the responsive mode, which clearly attacks and criticizes those comparison to the Holocaust. So we're going to see here now example for that. So we have here a TikToker that uses the stitch function or their response to comment to criticize others and reject the act of Holocaust distortion. Like this one, let's see it. Just a second. So here you're going to see on the left an example of a popular style of TikTokers that call out other creators comparing COVID-19 vaccination to medical experiments or anti-vax to Jews during the Holocaust. In this specific example is the comparison of Holocaust to the idea of abortion.
I can't seem to find the huge discrepancy between the Holocaust and abortion because thousands of innocent humans are being—
So let me explain the difference to you like a fucking 2-year-old. The difference is that during the Holocaust, they killed living, breathing human beings who had memories, emotions, characteristics, interests, family members who loved them. They were conscious human beings that felt every ounce of pain inflicted on them. When the Nazis beat them to death, starved them, and did experiments on them like they were lab rats, they felt every ounce of that pain. On the other hand, you can make the case that a fetus is a potential life, but the fact is that they have not yet lived a life. They have no memories, they don't yet have the ability to make memories, they can't feel emotions, they don't have interests or character traits. And lastly, in most cases, they are not conscious human beings that can feel pain. They have no ability to understand what's happening to them. You are comparing the pain and murder of millions of people to a being that doesn't have consciousness and can't feel pain. So, like, are you stupid?
And the other example is using the respond to comment feature and also implementing a trending sound on TikTok in order to create this call out culture of people who are daring to distort this narrative of the Holocaust. So just a second.
Ugh, I hate that. But I accept it as part of the internet, which is something you'll find you have to do frequently.
Okay, so that was a response to a comment of a user using a trending sound on TikTok, and together creating this responsive mode.
I can't seem to find the huge.
Maybe the most kind of often used mode is the explanatory mode. So here TikTok creators use the platform to offer a background about disputed topics, about specific historic incidents, and especially focus, interestingly, on marginalized stories and the references between past and present. So this is very typical for many kind of serious topics, but specifically also for the Holocaust and related aspects. So usually this is also used to report about certain other victim groups or specific perspectives within the Holocaust. We have usually a TikToker who is explaining things with the help of additional texts or additional layers, emphasize particular aspects, and using features like, for example, the green screen to share relevant sources. Maybe show one of the examples.
Yes, just a second.
Yes, of course. Unfortunately, there were tons of disabled victims of the Holocaust. And with a lot of areas of teaching, ableism is definitely a part of it, and I definitely inadvertently perpetuated that, so let's talk about it. So what a lot of people forget about the rise of the Nazi Party, Hitler, and the Holocaust is that the first country that the Germans invaded was their own. And in Germany, one of the first targets were disabled people. Hitler didn't even have the SS conduct the killings. It was doctors like these ones in the trials. Medical doctors decided to enact this part of the Holocaust. We don't even have good numbers for the amount of people killed. Estimates are around 150 to 350,000 killed and around 400,000 sterilized, but we just don't know. But what we do know is that they were locked in hospitals meant to treat them, and murdered through starvation, injection, and eventually gas chambers. They shared the same fate as all the victims, and yet they get omitted. So for Holocaust Remembrance Day, let's remember these disabled victims.
So,
Breaking another
yes,
Holocaust.
Very closely related and also partly similar to the explanatory videos are educational videos, while explanatory videos are used by kind of random ordinary users or some TikTokers that create this particular profile on dealing with historical topics, or particular with the Holocaust. Educational videos are usually something institutions are using in order to address the topic, and thereby rely on the frameworks to conduct mini lessons on historical information, sometimes using slides, sometimes using particular things visible at historical memorials, and thereby kind of offering kind of short lessons on particular topics related to the Holocaust. Educational videos also reflect about education on TikTok.
So why is a concentration camp memorial on TikTok? Well, if we look here, we can see that actually 48% of young people in the US can't even name a single concentration camp. And in other countries, it's not much better either. That's why we decided to create this TikTok to help spread awareness of what goes on here at the memorial and also educate people about the history of the camp.
You also want to show the second one?
Why is a concentration camp memorial on TikTok?
Sorry, yes.
Around the age of 9.
So the first one was from the Neuengamme Memorial, and you will hear more in some minutes about their work. And the second one is a collaboration of students from the Hebrew University with the Mauthausen Memorial.
I learned about the Holocaust at Jewish elementary school in Canada at around the age of 9, and I was also educated by my family, who is Jewish and Israeli.
I first learned about the Shoah at home. It's part of my family history, and I would always ask a lot of questions, and my grandparents would always tell me a lot of stories.
Basics from my family, but my secondary school teacher was brilliant. She taught us complex and nuanced stories.
I learned about the Holocaust at my kindergarten. Every year at the Holocaust Remembrance Day, our teacher told us about it. I would like to know from you.
Yes, so Our next mode will be the visit mode. Videos that convey visitors' personal encounters with the site and the institution's introduction to Holocaust-related sites. So we have videos posted by concentration camp memorial sites that adopt educational approaches and combine them with the introduction of their collection and the historical site. They show different approaches to historical sites and combine explanation provided by guides and presenters. Visit modes are also used by individual TikTokers who document their visits to former concentration camp sites or Holocaust-related museums. These videos usually feature the TikToker's personal encounter with the site and follow the creator's own point of view. So both variations often contain panning shots of or focused on particular details of the site or exhibitions. Sometimes they contain explanatory elements such as text inserts and are accompanied by music. So let's see now an example for individuals visit video.
This pain is just too real. There's just too much that time cannot erase. When you cried, I wipe away all of your tears. When you scream, I fight away all of your fears. I held your hand through all of these years, but you still.
So that was an individual visiting in a historical environment, or kind of like a former concentration camp, in order to convey its own point of view. And you could hear that it was using an highly emotionalized music in order to, again, to kind of like increase this emotional experience that this person is experiencing while walking in this area. And that is, of course, a very intriguing feature on TikTok, using those popular songs. And here you can see the institutional visit video. Just a second.
This is the card index, where over 100,000 index cards were kept on the prisoners here in Neuengamme. Over 20,000 index cards from Neuengamme survive today, of which around 500 are on display here at the memorial. These cards have the prisoner's number, profession, and work commando to which they were assigned.
Yes, so... finally, we have our testimony mode, which is a complementary approach to the visit mode. If in the previous mode, it was visitors who witnessed the Holocaust by engaging with the historical sites, in this mode, we see Holocaust survivors who use TikTok to share their first-hand memories. So Lily Hebert and Gideon Lev are pioneering creators of testimonies on TikTok. In their videos, they utilize TikTok's popular fragmented audiovisual aesthetic for dividing traumatic memories into segments. They adjust their testimonies to the attention span of young users on TikTok, and at the same time offer the possibility of a TikTok testimony as they turn their profiles into living archives of memories. So each survivor adheres differently to TikTok's popular vernaculars. Lev is motivated by political action and combating Holocaust disorders who compare COVID restrictions with the Holocaust. Ebbert tends to create an intimate space while using the comment feature, enabling her to address viewers' questions about unusual topics like if women in Auschwitz got their period, and allowing complex forms of digital witnessing to emerge when users harness the duet function to show themselves listening to her testimonies. Now let's see an example of each in his own style of TikTok.
There are two things wrong with comparing vaccinations to the Holocaust. One, it erases anti-Semitism as a historical fact. to it minimizes and trivializes unthinkable suffering and genocide. So just don't. You heard.
And again, you can hear this, how he harnessed this idea of trending music and also using the voice of Siri, which is another important component of sound here on those TikToks. The Siri sound considered to be very popular and also being used a lot on those in various TikTok videos that deal with the Holocaust. And here we see Lily Hebert's style of TikTok.
Were you afraid of death in Auschwitz?
In Auschwitz, you were not afraid of death. You were afraid to live.
Were you afraid?
Okay. So.
Yes, so to kind of wrap this up, most important is that those videos try to adapt the specific language and the specific dialect and aesthetics of TikTok and combine it with forms of addressing important and overlooked aspects of Holocaust memory. Here we see several features, effects, and aesthetics that are offered by the platform, like the green screen, which offers the possibility to engage with historical sources or with screenshots and related graphs and tables. The challenges, which offers forms of collaboration and responding, overlay text to emphasize, to add in order to respond, and also to create something like a virtual commemorative space. The reply to comments as a form of virtual testimony or educating about, reacting to questions and thereby educating about the history of the Holocaust, or the stitch in forms of kind of conflicting memories or memory disputes, all of them related, of course, to specific modes which we already described. The last two slides we would like to, you want to show something?
No, I just want to actually ask about regarding time, because I think we are exceeding a bit. So if we just if we have the time for that or not, but let's see what
yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
no
okay,
problem.
cool, great. Okay.
So then we would like to dedicate the remaining minutes to presenting two examples of kind of using TikTok as a form of responding to hate, but also of kind of creating a space for commemoration from the perspective of users. The first, what we want to present is the so-called Jew Talks, Jewish creators, primarily in the United States, but also more and more in other countries that use TikTok in order to combat anti-Semitism on the platform. Of course, TikTok has a darker side, like every social media platform, and offers also a lot of possibilities to spread hate and also anti-Semitic perceptions and stereotypes, especially, of course, also because also for that content and because it is seen as kind of controversial content, this is featured on the For You page and then spreaded among different communities. So Jewish TikTokers try to respond to that by either kind of directly react to anti-Semitic content to mock it, but also to use this as a space to show different ways of Jewish life and culture and educate about Jewish life and culture. Yeah, Tom, maybe you choose two examples which we want to show.
Yeah, so this one, the use of humor.
All right, get lost, all of you. You're fired. Go on, scram, get out of here, you moochers. That's right, keep moving.
You know what? You know what? Yeah.
Except you stay.
So these two guys, Jew Crazy, they are not only fantastic dancers, but really perform usually in a very funny way and play with anti-Jewish and anti-Semitic stereotypes, and thereby, of course, also create awareness about anti-Semitism. And then
we have Sarah, which creates a Jewish space.
They don't know I do it for the culture, goddamn. They say I should watch the shit I post, oh goddamn. Say I'm turning big girls into hoes, oh goddamn.
So again, you see the kind of references to TikTok's origins, the use of lip sync, the use of dancing, the performative elements.
Sorry.
And all of them, the mimetic structure, which is adopted in order to emphasize TikTok's potential for education and for a kind of form of responsive forms of commemoration and reacting to related topics, thereby creating a new standard for a complex digital discourse about the Holocaust. We also see the translation of traditional practices of commemoration into the TikTok-specific language, and how to make this accessible, and also how TikTok's mimetic and communicative features are used in order to create a creative and often also co-creative forms of engagement and in dealing with the history of the Holocaust in responsive ways. Okay, so these 3 videos were produced by our students in our recent class on creating serious TikToks on the occasion of Holocaust Memorial Day in Israel in April. And they show also, I think, very well how a younger generation of Israelis adopts this platform in order to talk about this topic.
I'm going to show the shoe video.
I've always had this thing with shoes, and I saw them as more than a clothing item. To me, shoes are a form of self-expression. But why am I telling you this? In 2016, I visited Majdanek concentration camp, and this perception of shoes changed everything for me. Majdanek concentration camp is located in Poland and operated between the years 1941 till 1944. This place is called the Mound of Ashes, and it contains the ashes of 200,000 victims. Majdanek was also a sorting facility for Jewish property. Shoes is just one example. The shoe storage contains 300,000 shoes. I remember walking through aisles and aisles of never-ending shoes. It was there that I realized that each pair of shoes symbolizes someone's personality. Through shoes, I realized they were just like us.
Yes.
Okay. Another one?
Yeah. Just a second.
Millennials versus Gen Z. Holocaust remembrance. Millennials remember. Sharing posts on Facebook. Reading books. Going to museums. Gen Z remember. Protesting rights. Creating content. Journaling feelings. It doesn't matter how we remember the Holocaust, as long as we remember.
So, shall we leave it like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I think it's a good way to get a good message to finish this talk. Exactly.
Exactly. So, yeah, thank you very much. And we are really looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tobias, for this very interesting and timely presentation. I think that it's time to give the floor to our friends from the museum. So I would like to ask to Iris to talk about the Neuengamme experience with TikTok. Iris, please,
Yeah.
the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So, we are on TikTok since November last year and uploaded our first 100 TikToks. And I would like to give you a hands-on insight into our experience. When we started, we had some goals. Did we reach them so far? We were quite surprised by the quick rise of our followers and the immediate desire of the community to communicate with us. But on our way, we had to learn how to find an interesting way for platform-compatible storytelling, like Tom and Tobias just explained to us, and for engaging our followers, because the algorithm promotes TikToks that contribute to a dialogue. we gained a lot of attention in traditional media and, more important, in the platform itself. Within 5 weeks, we had our first 10,000 followers and reached the first 1 million views on our videos. And you can see, compared to the other social media platforms, it was really astonishing. We almost immediately saw a high level of comments, likes, questions, and now our most viral video alone has received more than 500,000 views. Also, our followers are international, like we wanted it to be, with the top countries being Great Britain, Germany, USA, Netherlands. So the account also had unintended consequences. The analog visit of young people. Like I spoke to our supervisors and guides, they are regularly asked about our TikTok account in general, and also they ask detailed questions about the content. So that never happened before with other platforms. So yes, I would say we are visible now for a new community. Who is our community? We use TikTok to address young people with very different knowledge and interest. I think a part of this video you already saw, so I will show you the other one.
Recently, and I thought it was quite interesting. It's talking about this study from the Arianna archives here in Germany. They found out that 16 to 25-year-olds are much more interested in the Nazi era than their parents' generation. What they also found was that people were able to draw analogies with current problems in society like racism and discrimination. As a concentration camp memorial that tries to reach young people through our TikTok account, we'd be interested to know your thoughts. Have you noticed these trends? Let us know in the comments. I saw this headline recently, and
So Daniel said it. On one side, young people are more interested in the Nazi era, but in a different way than their parents. And on the other side, half of the millennials can't name a single concentration camp. That was the video you were showing beforehand. And also in this video, you could also see how we try to engage people and to communicate with our channel. And this is who our community is and who we want to reach, this younger online audience who are on TikTok, and we want to educate, to bring awareness and to gain visibility in an interesting and modern way, and that's not too easy. So what does it mean for the content? To be relevant to Gen Z in their own world, of course, we have to be close to their language and also know the rules of the platform and its visual language. That means, for example, that we try to get to the point immediately with interesting facts or visuals to have the attention of the platform users. And we also stitch other videos, and we participated in the 1 minute silence that you introduced to us for Yom HaShoah earlier this year. And of course, not everything that is typical TikTok is recommendable. Memorials have to see what can be adapted in which form. So we have to find a language for mutual understanding, but it is important. It's an important start to take the community serious and ask what they are interested in, and asking for their opinions and answer their questions, for example, with videos like this screenshot shows. So our basic communication concept in our TikTok is to let our young volunteers, Daniel, Dolomia, and Justin, talk about their work, their thoughts, and their growing knowledge about the history of the camp, so that they can address a peer-to-peer audience directly. This allowed us to downsize topics into this snackable content without trivialization and without being emotionally overwhelming or inappropriate. And this also allowed us to personalize our account and content, and that's something very important, as we just saw, when aiming to be successful, especially on TikTok. I want to share with you a more specific part of our TikTok communication concept, our rules, how to TikTok. So we found out it's important to find a balance between the stories about the life of the volunteers and the work of the memorial. It's like content line A, and history talks and information talks like content line B. And this content line B is divided into providing basic info, not only on the history of the Neuengamme concentration camp, but on general information about concentration camps in Nazi times. And on the other side, digging deeper into history, and also to surprise the audience with new information they were not so familiar with. For example, this screenshot of Daniel talking about a queer victim of the Holocaust. Tell short stories, make content personal, plan your own content and reply to user-generated content. And for us, it's important to provide a setting for reflection. So it's allowed to talk to us and to talk about opinions when you reply to our content. And we like to be a honest, direct, informative voice at eye level. And beside the opportunities, we also had to face challenges. When we plan our content, we have to face the fact that on social media, everything is like condensed and the storytelling is necessarily simplified. And we have to be aware of the competition for attention and what it means to feed algorithm with attention-grabbing topics. We do not want attention at any price. So it's not problematic when one of our videos only like reaching 2,000 people or something like that. It's important that we don't want to leave the social media world to accounts that talk about alternative facts and attack democracy. Instead, we as a memorial have to raise our voices and counter these anti-democratic trends. And we do so by not replying to problematic content in the first idea, but to bring our own topics into the digital public sphere and offering history communication. Because we as a memorial have a credible voice and the expertise. As you can see in the middle, this is our archivist who answered a special question a user had. On the other side, we were working with the young Abikal and also with the second and third generation of former prisoners, and they're helping us by joining in and do videos about the topics they are experts on. But of course, we did not only reach the person that we imagined when planning content, like the 17-year-old female history buff, but as soon as we received the first 1,000 followers, we were confronted with difficult comments, ranging between jokes and comments about the appearance of our creators, like, is it appropriate to wear sneakers, you smile too much, something like that, and also hateful comments like Holocaust denial and distortion and conspiracy narrative. So these are some normal comments to the video you have shown to us about the index cards, and these are examples of other comments we received. And I had to learn not only about teenage slang as an older woman, but also about racist or right-wing code words, and a constant moderating process had to be installed, beginning with the implementing a stop list of words so that these comments don't appear beneath our videos. That means that from the beginning, there has to be a clear communication of a netiquette externally and a strategy internally, if and how to respond. One example on how Frau Löwenherz, a famous creator, responded to an unvaccinated yellow star. And this was our first collaboration with a well-known creator on TikTok. I don't know if you have the time to show this. Yeah, okay. And maybe I would also like to share another video we did. And this shows that a discussion on what is appropriate remembrance can also be developed within the TikTok community. So because this video was taken off TikTok very often, and it was and the community was saying, no, that's not a good way you are working. So it was very interesting. Let me show you this controversial video we did. Up. So it's creating a loop and starting again. So can you imagine why this was a very problematic video?
Sorry, Alice, but we could not hear the sound.
Oh, really?
So if you just very briefly summarize what's
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You should have.
It's fine for me. For me, the audio is all fine. I think it's a connection problem of Rome, because for me it's okay, and also for others, it's all okay.
So I listen all the internet, but not the audio of videos. Just that.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know. Okay. No.
So I just wanted to show you an example that also memorials have to cope with what is a good way to communicate with the community. And this was labeled as a drinking game, and it's not appropriate, and they are smiling so much, and so on. Instead, what we wanted to achieve was to play a little bit with Neuengamme not being well known. So this was the intention when we did this video. So our last, my last slide is that I think memorials and learning with them as experts about the difficult past are important for the identity of a democratic society, and to remain relevant for the next generation, memorials have to put more time and energy into this content and co-creation formats, maybe even. So as not only to be like gatekeepers to fight fake news and alternative facts, but perhaps also to emulate a little bit into a little bit of Lily Ebert and Gideon Lev and become influencers on social media. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you so much. Now it's time to share. Oh, Tobias, do you have any questions? No? Okay. Okay. Yes, of course. Sorry if I'm rushing up, but it's 3:10. So now it's time for Marie and Tessa from Bergen-Belsen, Gedenkstätte Bergen-Belsen.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'll just share my screen and give you a quick overview of our account, and then Tessa will tell you about how the interaction with our community has been and how the response has been to our account. Just a second. Yeah, so I hope you can see it now. This is our account. We started it in January this year and have since uploaded about 20 TikToks, I think. And just like Iris already said, the response has been a little bit overwhelming. I did not expect it to be that good. We noticed a quick rise of followers as well, and we had a lot of likes, which has been really great. And we also noticed that a lot of the viewers which we reached were people who we did not reach in other platforms like Twitter or Instagram. So particularly the young audience, which was really cool to notice. And
yeah, maybe that's just a short introduction of how our account is looking right now. We kind of try to find our own style and have mainly shown the Bergen-Belsen memorial from the outside and kind of given information about the remains that we have here or different memorials. Yeah, so maybe now, Tessa, you can add something or talk about what we did with our interaction with the followers. Yes.
Yeah, I've also prepared a few comments that I will show you. Just a quick disclaimer. Our target group and also our videos are in German. So most of the comments that we receive are also in German, but I'll try to just translate a little bit on the go. I hope you can all see my screen right now. So like Marie already mentioned, especially in the beginning, we were very surprised and also happily surprised by the amount of comments and likes that we received and the amount of also positive comments that we received in the beginning. Comments ranging from, wow, that's cool that you're on TikTok now, to people really asking also specific questions. But also comments like this one, for those of you who read German, you can just read along, but I'll translate. So a student actually said like, well, I was visiting a workshop at the memorial, but it was so boring. And then we just responded to her comment like, oh, that's a pity. What would you have liked to see? And then really this conversation kind of developed in the comment section. And she really gave a very, well, nice feedback. And this is something that normally, like in on-site formats, you wouldn't really see as much, or we don't see as much, that people are really willing to engage with you and really give you some feedback on that. So that was very nice. Then the next kind of thing that we noticed that also happened, that's something that we already were kind of familiar with on our other platforms, so Instagram and Twitter, that sometimes relatives of survivors would comment or also send us messages with source materials. And that's something that we've also noticed on TikTok. So here's, for example, someone comments, oh, one of my relatives was in Bergen-Belsen and I visited you guys 10 years ago. And it's been really nice to really kind of acknowledge these comments, tell people, well, thank you for commenting. And usually like a small, it's not really a long like conversation, but just kind of this acknowledging, thanking people for commenting, really also seems kind of to feed the algorithm in the sense that videos are kind of pushed. I think I'll mention it in a bit as well. Some of our videos, especially one of our latest videos, now has almost 900,000 views. I mean, it's about Anne Frank, so that's always a topic that kind of catches the audience. But I think also because we're really commenting and interacting, that makes kind of TikTok like aware, oh, there's things happening there, and then it pushes the video. That's kind of how we're trying to work with the algorithm as well. But like Iris already talked about as well, we've had to deal with some, negative responses as well, and also just weird and also, yeah, well, in some sense also just really Holocaust distortion and conspiracy. Just some examples of accounts that keep commenting on our videos, where you can already see in the symbolism. And like Iris also mentioned, we really try to kind of remove those. In some cases, we report them to TikTok, but we're still in the process of developing a strategy on how to deal with these, because we want to kind of keep them for documentation and also maybe for research purposes. But we also don't want to kind of leave them there for everyone to see. So that's kind of still a thing where we're thinking about. A question that also keeps popping up, interestingly enough, is this question of guilt and responsibility. So sometimes people just randomly comment like, well, I'm not responsible for that, or, oh yeah, we've been hearing this for decades, it's enough now. And but then on the other hand, also people like, wow, it's so important to remember and thank you so much. So it's kind of these both sides that kind of seem to exist or like coexist. Yeah, then when it comes to distortion, comments like, 6 million, where did you get that number? And then, history is written by the victors, I think you would say. So people that won the war, or the countries that won the war. And like I mentioned, these are all comments that we try to document by screenshotting, but also comments that we would then remove. Another, in the direction of conspiracy, someone commenting, and who remembers the people that died because they were vaccinated. And then someone commenting about the World Economic Forum. I have to say, I saw that, and at first I really had to think, what does this mean? And like Iris mentioned, you really kind of need to get into these codes and these like different topics and conspiracies that are going on to understand some of these things that are used there, some of the codes. And I'm not sure whether, I don't think you had it in your presentation, Tom and Tobias, but there's this one account that I really like. I'm not really sure what it's called, but I think maybe something like anti-Semitic dog whistles or something like that. I think it's someone from the US who does like explaining videos on that, and it's a really good account. I can really recommend it. Yeah, that's it for the comments. I'm just thinking whether there's something else that I would like to. Well, I think what is important for the future for us, on the one hand, like I mentioned, the strategy in terms of dealing with the kind of backlash in a way, but also the consistency, which is also a big thing, I guess. Right now, the account is mainly run by our volunteers. So Marie is one of them, and also our other volunteer. And I think our kind of challenge or task, I wouldn't call it challenge, I think it will work fine, but to kind of hand it over to the next generation and to kind of make sure that we have a consistency there. But yeah, I think we're now convinced of TikTok's potential, and we're looking forward to see where it will bring us in the next few months and years. So that's it from us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you, Tessa, for sharing the Bergen-Belsen Memorial's experience with TikTok. And now it's Arianna's turn from Fondazione Museo della Shoah in Rome. Arianna, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I share the screen. Okay. It's working. You see our profile? Okay, perfect. So, for years, the Fondazione Museo della Shoah used the social network as a tool for keep memory alive and to communicate the many activities we organize. In recent years, Facebook has always been the social main, and the main social, and in the last year also Instagram has been raising its fan base, especially at the events with the new generation. But now with TikTok, that the Fondazione Museo della Shoah intends to take a step forward. Our profile is very new, how can you see on the screen, and but we are the first institutions Shoah in Italy to have opened a TikTok profile, and we are very proud of this. And just for this reason, we have all our content in Italian to put ourselves as a national reference, I hope. We hope. And we opened the profile because not only with the aim of reaching a different target audience, but also with the aim of creating a more diversified and lively community. And the Fondazione Museo della Shoah works with students, all days with students and young people from a different part of Italy, through many activities that helps them to know the Shoah in a historically correct way, and to listen to the witness and to carry on the memory. TikTok is the line continuation of this project for us, and the most suitable platform for conveying important messages with a language specific to the new generation. While onboarding additional chance and additional channel is also a challenge in terms of available resource. We strongly believe it's important to carry on the memory and to send across the messages about the Shoah, being always in line with the newest communication means, and even through texting new register. And as we know, social media give us new opportunity, but also challenges. That's why we believe it's important to be present on TikTok, also to investigate and fight the phenomenon of distortion, following the same path and the same race used on Facebook and Instagram, and acting upon guidelines and recommendation of the IRA and your project, Countering Holocaust on Social Media. It was chosen to open the TikTok profile of Fondazione Museo della Shoah, Museo Shoah Roma, in connection with a very important project that sees social media, literature and memory united, the Social Book Club. A book club, really a book club on TikTok. I show you maybe something here. Yes, this is appunto un social book club on the TikTok. The guys in collaboration with the Giuntina Published House. Also in this case, the foundation distinguished itself in the Italian panorama for having involved students from all over Italy to read the book Things That Make Us Afraid of Karen David, by Karen David, and providing children with the books free of charge. The guys, the young people using the trending hashtag, Italian hashtag Impara con TikTok and Book Talk as a final paper, really, and made videos that were then published on the Fondazione channel. The messages of the new generation to the fight against racism, central theme of the book, have been numerous, generating a lot of interaction on the content. Why is this choice to open our profile with the Social Book Club? First of all, the target audience is common, and I have chosen to create a synergy between the online and offline event, maximizing the messages and involving young people on both fronts. The project is currently in progress because the ending is in January, next January, on the day of remembrance. For now, the feedback has been positive with no episodes of distortion to manage. And we are seeing that the public that uses TikTok is certainly more open to historical issues and less accustomed to prejudices, and perhaps also due to the young people age, the young age of the user, who demonstrated more sensitivity than user over 50 years old, who use Facebook, for example. The further goal will be to evaluate precisely, thanks to concrete data, the veracity of this statement, because now is just a consideration, our consideration. As reported by the IRA research results, much is due to the great work that the platform have done directly on the control of the topic. Just think of the approval of the content on TikTok and the banner with the link to the About Holocaust portal.org. A particular example of critically that we have to face, however, derived from a video created by the students, the Italian School for the Social Book Club. Is this video here? now this video is all in Italian, but the students here created a fake chat, taking inspiration from the history of the book and issues addressed in the book, taking so inspiration from the history of the book. And in this chat, we can see how a member of the group did not agree to welcome a companion because she was Jewish, and while the other companions were against him. I don't know if you see well the this chat. You see? Yes. So Ivan is the bad person in this group. Okay, so clearly the chat wanted to be a message of fight against racism, but 2-3 users told it wasn't a real chat going against the boys' attitude. And write us, it's not possible that somehow I wrote these messages and something else. So we had to moderate the comments and explain with a comment fixed at the drop here. The nature of the chat and the positive message it wanted to provide. However, it's interesting how in the face of a fate in the sensitivity of users actually reached to this episode of racism. So it's very interesting how some people have the react of some people. Our goals for the future will be to involve the first-hand the young people of the Radici Future project. Radici Future is a project that more students and young boys and young girls who after training with the historians are now active working with us in the museum. So it will also be a way from them to test the communication of the Shoah on the social network after the feedback they got from the guided tours that made. To conclude, we are happy that Ira has involved us in this research, and in particular, the section of the good practice is very helpful by providing a concrete example, and we would be happy to work together with other museums and memorials to create a joint initiative on TikTok together, and all the other examples that you show show me are very, very interested. And thanks to all for this opportunity, because especially in the area of the social network, always in progress, it's always important to reflect on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Arianna. Thank you so much to everybody. So now it's time for a couple of questions. If you like, there is one in the chat window from Ayelet, who asks, I think it's referred to the Bergen-Belsen experience on TikTok. The question is, do people react to each other, especially the comments of people who are denying the Holocaust, for example? If Marie or Tessa want to
I already wrote in the chat just quickly, like, yes, people do comment. So some comments aren't really problematic in the sense that they're like distorting anything, but sometimes they're just a bit like, I don't know, rude or something. And especially then other users are commenting like, what are you talking about? This is very rude. What are you doing? So this is something that we usually just leave there, because it's also interesting to see what the community does with it. But also with the other type of comments, obviously we aren't on TikTok 24/7, so sometimes comments might be there already for a few hours before we see them, and there as well we see that other followers or other visitors comment on those. I don't know if Iris maybe wants to share something from the Neuengamme experience.
Well, yeah, we have the same experience. So during nighttime, when the US community is online and I'm sleeping, so maybe something's happening like Holocaust distortion and problematic content. And when I wake up in the morning, almost every time someone else has commented, and sometimes it even was leading to a kind of communication. But obviously, really problematic comments, we do delete then as soon as we are aware of them. But if they're just minor problems and real honest questions, of course, you can also leave negative comments like, when you dislike content or something. But as soon as it comes to racism or anti-Semitism, we delete it as soon as we are aware of it.
Yeah, I have a question which is addressed to all of you who wants to try to answer. One of the limitations that we found during our research activities was that usually there is a limited interaction on social media, but when we talk about social media, we mean specifically Facebook, Twitter, Instagram mostly, because we didn't investigate TikTok use specifically at the time, because the project started almost 2 years ago and TikTok was not on the rise yet. So one of the ideas that we tried also to implement in our guidelines and recommendation was to encourage conversations. And Iris mentioned this, saying it's important to start a conversation with users, with people. My impression is that maybe it's easier to have this kind of conversations on TikTok than on other more traditional social platforms, or is it mine a false impression or something that is not might be proved by facts? What are your feelings?
Maybe I can start because Tom and Tobias already mentioned it, that TikTok is a community of creators. So that's different to Facebook or even Twitter, where you just browse through the tweets and it's very quick and maybe I don't comment. But there it's a generation, they want to be active. And so I think this is the reason why TikTok is totally different to the other social media accounts. And also the quick rise of followers. So we have a much bigger community than in other social media. So yes, they are just more active, and it's more likely that you get into a dialogue, even though it's a very, very short form of dialogue. So this is why I mentioned also this unintended follow-up, that really people come here to visit. So we asked a mother coming there with 2 of the kids, and she was like, oh, well, I had to come here because my children wanted to come here because they saw it on TikTok. So this was really something I would never, ever expect of a Facebook user, maybe, or Instagram user, I don't know. Even in this age group, Gen Z, normally a museum or even a memorial is kind of a little bit like, yeah, hard topic and maybe a little bit boring, but not cool. But they really are interested, and this is really great to see. So I really would encourage memorials to have this open-mindedness for this inspiring formats, and to really get into a community of learning from each other.
Maybe to add to that, of course, not all TikTok users are constantly creating their own videos, but through the logics of the algorithm and the way that through active engagement with the videos, you are already becoming a co-creator, because you are influencing the way how they spread and how they are actually seen by others. I just want to emphasize that Iris' claim that this is, of course, very much a platform that is less consumer-oriented towards a kind of passive viewer, so to say, or somebody who is just sharing, but somebody who is more actively engaging, plus these kind of forms of co-creation, plus all these responsive forms that a comment you post could lead to a new video where your name is also then in, yeah? So an institution responds to what you commented or asked, yeah? This is a virtual dialogue, but it's also a form of acknowledgement, so to say, and all the other things which we presented, like duets or stitches. And therefore, I think, yes, we can see it, like you said, Stefanie. Of course, with all the kind of downplays and problems of kind of which we already discussed. And thank you, Tessa, for sharing also a lot of insight about how you experienced that in Bergen-Belsen.
You can't be a lurker on TikTok, right? While you can be someone who just read the threads on the other social media. But there is a request of question from Kati.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
So I'm the social media officer for the IRA, and I just wanted to ask, this could be to any of the memorials. I get the feeling that most of you have a policy of not responding to distortive comments or questions. And firstly, I'd just like to make sure that or at least themes specifically. And firstly, I just wanted to check that that's correct. And I assume the reasons for that are that the chances of changing people's minds on TikTok is a little bit more, we don't have a lot of data to show that that actually happens. And so I first wanted to ask if that is something that you have a strategy about and a policy about. And secondly, if this is something that if you respond more obliquely to themes and distortive issues, if there are any structured ways that you do that, or if you see that there are sort of themes coming up in a number of comments and then you decide to address it as a separate thing. If anybody has any input on that, I'd love to hear.
Well, it really depends, because when I see like comments like Gorillian or really not really making a contribution to discussion just to spread hate or something like that, I don't comment on this and I just delete it. But there are different, I would say different kind of deepness of hate or not understanding. So if it's just a comment like you're negative about something, that's not really problematic. And yes, there I can answer to. so sorry, my English is not that good, so I hopefully I can make clear what I mean. So it really depends. There are different categories of responses and hate or not understanding. So yeah, you really have to look into an account and think about how, if to respond, and if yes, how. And we think about this a lot.
Yeah, maybe to add on to that, I think there were a few instances where we kind of responded or asked like a question, like and sometimes when the comment isn't as problematic, and I think it's really difficult, at least for us, speaking from our experience, to grasp this as well. It's still very much this personal feeling that you have, that sometimes you see a comment and you're like, wow, that's absolutely, like, that really isn't okay, and you're just deleting it kind of out of this first response of being like confronted with it. And other comments you're like, yeah, okay, it's a bit weird, but maybe this person just doesn't understand it, so you can give them some information, and maybe then and I think there we're still very much in the process of kind of teaching ourselves as well, and learning to deal with these kind of things. And I think that's where tools like these guidelines, or training sessions for social media managers really are very helpful. And also meetings like these, or the whole TikTok initiative, sharing best practices with each other, I think is really helpful in that regard, because we're still very much in the beginning of that whole development and process on TikTok.
Thank you so much. This has been really, really interesting.
Anybody else who wants to leave a final comment or give some? Anya, please.
Hello, I'm Anya. Thank you very much for this interesting talk here. I have a question I'm very much involved in, because I think, how do you deal, like, in the research and at the memorials, like, to protect, like, the persons who create the content? And for the research aspect, how do you deal with anonymity? Because we saw all these different videos from people and we can easily identify them. So how can we deal that in the perspective of research, but also when we create comments and interact with others? And as you mentioned, there especially the volunteers who are in charge of, like, these social media content. So do you have any strategies for research and for, like, at the memorial sites? Thank you very much.
So I will just jump in regarding the research. Thank you for this question. It is a very important aspect, actually. So we're following a few basic rules of research, which is when we are sampling certain videos and elaborating about specific case studies in soon to be published paper or in a research paper. So we usually may contact those creators in order to inform, or to kind of like have this certain awareness on their side that we are doing it for purposes of science and social science and research. But when it comes to their videos that they are posting on TikTok, this is already a discussion about, like, if it's their property, or we can just use it in our presentation and showing it to others, because they have purpose of educating about specific topics. So they're doing it for the wider crowd. So we are considering ourselves also as part of this crowd that consume it. So when it comes to showing their videos, from discussing with a lot of them, they're actually really in favor of that. It's like giving them more exposure and allowing others to see their efforts in this field of educating about topics, activism, Holocaust commemoration, combating anti-Semitism, for example, like we had with the Jewish creators that were thrilled to be part of this kind of like study that explores their creations. But when it comes to actually publish videos in research, we usually following rules of ethics when we are covering any identifying details, names, and even sometimes the eyes, so they won't be identified. Yeah, definitely when we are doing it in soon to be published papers. Yeah, so this is the research aspect.
Oh, sorry, do you want to go first?
No, do.
Okay. Okay, no. So I can say maybe a little bit about the protection of the creators, because with that, it hasn't happened that much, fortunately, but a few times I've gotten like not really nice comments also about my presenting style, like I do a smile too much, or I don't know, something like that. And this kind of hurts the first time, but we just deleted them, and now I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of over it. And we discussed it too and decided that we will all take a look at the comments, and for example, that Tessa or other people in our team will delete comments, for example, before I see them, and kind of will have a look out for me that I'm not exposed to all the like hate comments. Oh, thank you, Tom. That's nice. Yeah, so that's kind of how we try to protect people. But also with time, I've kind of gotten used to it, and we don't get it that much anymore. That's good. But yeah, we kind of try to look after each other there.
Yeah, I think in the communication, it has to be very clear when you do this job, like our volunteers, what they could face. So it's not like, hey, let's do it and just do it. So they really, I was really asking them, okay, look at the TikTok, think about it. And all of our creators, they were already knowing about TikTok and knowing about the complex problems that might arise. And when you say volunteers are in charge of our TikTok, it's not really like that, because we are a team, and they're more like a face, the face of the memorial. So we are discussing topics and do research all together. And our community, our guidelines also incorporate things like, we don't show like historical pictures without just like an illustration. We always try to explain the photo or work with the photos, just like when we are working here on site. It's the same like we do online. And also we have something like a consent form, so that when, for example, second or third generation decide to join in, we tell them what can happen and if they are okay to share their video on our platform. So this is why no person under 18 is appearing, and if they have a signed consent form from the parents. So yes, we are, yes, we thought a lot about this aspect.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments that you'd like to share? No? Okay. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and for taking part in this very inspiring event. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tessa, Marie, Iris, Arianna, and Tobias, who left a few minutes ago. And I'm going to send you an email with a link to the recording of the event, if you wanted to share on your with your contacts, and that's it. See you next time, next event.
Thank you so much. It was great.
You.
Thank you, Stefania.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye bye.